That makes one of us. Okay, we got 1, 2, and the third on Zoom. Okay, guys. Okay. My nose is bloody and my nerves are frayed. I just had my first date, which resulted in my first kiss and my first fight. I'm here to describe how at 13 years old, I rode my bike 4 miles one way across town on a hot late September summer afternoon to Jessica's house to have my first date and my first fight. We've all had first dates. We've all had bad dates. A few of us have had some terrible dates. I managed to combine a terrible date and a first ever date into one event. This afternoon, I will be discussing how I met my first date, Jessica, the events that took place during my first date, and my bike ride home from the date. I met Jessica in 7th grade. We were both in Miss Jones' Algebra 1 class where we were assigned seats in the back of the classroom. Within 2 weeks of the first day of school, we had been in trouble on 2 occasions for passing folded notes on lined paper. Jessica had a round face and never showed her teeth when she smiled. Her tight-lipped smile made her seem coy, and like perhaps she knew more than she was letting on. She often wore a white pullover sweater with a blue hood to school. It was a boy-style sweater, but given that she had 2 older brothers, I thought nothing of it. Despite being a capable student, my Algebra 1 grades were slipping due to the constant note passing. "Call me after soccer practice," one fateful note read. The script was followed by a phone number. I wrote a reply that I would and began to feel a little nervous. Now that you've heard how I met my first date, let's now discuss the immediate lead up to the date itself and the immediate fallout of the date. I rode a bicycle to my first date. It was a hot day, the kind of day that makes the asphalt I'm riding my bike on wretchedly hot. Heat is radiating up from the asphalt and down from the sun. It's like an oven where I'm being cooked from both sides. I already had a strenuous soccer practice that day. I should have felt my tired legs from practice. I should have felt the heat from the sun. All I felt were the butterflies in the pit of my stomach. I had called Jessica after soccer practice like I had agreed to. She invited me to come to her neighborhood so we could go on a walk together. Tap, tap, tap. I'm nervous as I knock on the windowless front door of her 1-story suburban house. The door swings inwards and Jessica steps over the frame towards me. She lets the door swing closed behind her. I leave my bike leaning against the wall of her house and we set off on the sidewalk for a walk around her neighborhood. A little peck. That was it. That was all my first kiss was. It happened on the sidewalk about 2 blocks from Jessica's house. As if we had previously agreed to it, we wordlessly turned and started walking back to her house. Screech! Accompanied by shouting, I hear bicycles coming to a skidding halt on the road behind me. From my position on the sidewalk, I look over my left shoulder to see 4 boys I don't recognize seated on bicycles in the street 10 feet from me. They were all roughly my age and, as if in uniform, they were all wearing dark crew jeans, skate shoes, dark shirts, and either caps or beanies. The boy at the head position in the bike formation's name, I came to learn, was Shane. Shane, unbeknownst to me, was Jessica's boyfriend. It had been his white sweatshirt she had been wearing often at school. Shane was not particularly large, but he was made intimidating by the presence of his friends and the fact that he had made an unexpected appearance. Shane dropped his kickstandless bike to the street and made towards me. As he was approaching, I knew what was about to happen. My first kiss, peck that it was going to be followed by my first fight, a fight over a girl. Shane and I were both in our early teen years and couldn't do much damage to one another, try as we might, but we still fought on that sidewalk until exhausted and breathless, we gave up the endeavor for lack of a clear winner and went separate ways. You've now heard how my first date resulted in my first kiss and my first fight. I will now tell you about my bicycle ride home from Jessica's house and the thoughts that accompanied me on that ride. My ride home was mostly downhill. The day was getting late and the shadows were long. The heat of the day had been broken, replaced by the cool of evening. I rode home with a bloody nose. Shane rode home looking out from one black eye. I felt frustration but also pride. I reflected on how I'd gotten my first kiss and my first fight within 2 minutes of each other. I made it home and put my bike away, cleaned my face and had dinner. At school, my Algebra 1 grades improved. Jessica and I weren't passing notes anymore, and I never saw her wear that white sweater with the blue hood again. I hope you now understand some of how my ride home from an eventful and terrible first date was and how things changed for me at school. This afternoon, I've discussed with you 3 things. I've discussed how I met my first date, Jessica, the events of my first date, and my bicycle ride home from my first date. My nose was bloody, my nerves were frayed, but I rode home with a certain sense of pride and a story to tell. Thank you for watching.